Hi, it's Craig with Follett, and today we're working on a Follett 7 and 15 series ice water dispenser. The tools we'll be using for this is going to be a set of gloves, safety goggles, a John Guest wrench, pliers, needle nose pliers, Phillips head screwdriver, and a 3/16 inch nut driver. One point to note that there is a vent tube that's pushed in its compression fit into the brass or stainless steel main housing, and oftentimes people will tug on this and it will become loose and it becomes the source of a water leak. So you want to make sure that that gets pushed in firmly. There's an O-ring on the main housing, and we want to wet that with Petrogel prior to installing it onto the evaporator. Then simply slide the main housing over the auger shaft and into place where we can bolt it down. Now that I have my electrical connections made up, I can simply slide the gear motor onto the auger shaft. When I do, I'm going to be pushing out the shaft key, which I need to retain and put back in place. I'm just screwing in the two gear motor hold down bolts, which fix the gear motor onto the main housing. Next, we're going to install the shaft retainer. I'll insert that over the shaft and line the notch up with the key. Then I'm going to have to put this fork in here, and I'll use a flat blade screwdriver to turn the shaft and tension on the shaft seal spring. And once I have that in place, I can rotate it and then insert my retaining screw. Next, we want to reinstall the reservoir into place. And I'm tightening down the reservoir hold down bolt. Okay, next we have to install the compression nozzle back into the main housing. I put the new O-ring on, and I'm going to wet this with some Petrogel, and then we'll stick it into the main housing. Then the compression nozzle, and we have to turn it so that it's oriented correctly, and the retaining plate. You want to slide on the reservoir insulation cover piece before we make any of the plumbing connections or the electrical connections. Then make your electrical connections to the reservoir lid probes. Be sure the orange lead is in the center. Next, we'll reinstall the vent tube connection. There's 3 points. The reservoir top is vented. The bushing housing side vents to the T on the left-hand side, and then the main housing vents and the T's tie it all together. The top vent of this T will feed back into the ice storage bin for overflow water. And finally, we can set our bin back into place and make up our plumbing connections. Make up your electrical connections to the dispense auger motor. Connect your vent tube from the bin to the T. Reinstall your ice transport tube onto the compression nozzle and tighten the band clamp. I reinstalled the electrical connections to the shuttle actuator switch, and we have the back 2 pins of this switch are the pins to connect to. It's not polarity sensitive, but you do want to make sure you're on the back 2 pins. Finally, the bracket screw. To finish the job, you want to reinstall the back panel, then the 2 side panels, and then finally the top panel and the front facade, making sure all your connections are tight and that you don't have any water leaks. Energize the machine and you'll have fresh ice.